Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. Welcome to the WrestleMania 34 first full show preview. In this video, we're going to be about, I think we're 5 weeks out from WrestleMania. We're going to be previewing the card. As of right now, we already have 3 matches set. We have the main event. We have Roman Reigns going up against Brock Lesnar. We also have a mixed tag match between Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle going up against the McMahon-Helmsley connection, I guess. Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. From there, we also have a triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. We have The Miz defending against Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. From there, we also have 2 matches that we know we're going to have. We know who the challengers are going to be. We're only waiting to find out who the champions are going to be in the match. Asuka, the winner of the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. She is going to be picking sooner than later which championship she is going to be going after. She can choose as of right now from Charlotte Flair from SmackDown Live or Alexa Bliss from Monday Night Raw. When we look at what's going down with Fastlane, we also have a 6-pack challenge. AJ Styles, the champion, is going to be defending against Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, John Cena, and I'm not sure who is going to fill out Randy Orton. No, Randy Orton's going up against the United States Championship or something. I'm not sure. Somebody else is in there. It looks like it's going to be AJ Styles, the champion, going into WrestleMania. But is going to be defending against the Men's Royal Rumble winner, Shinsuke Nakamura. This is going to be a big deal. I think I can't remember Nakamura being on WrestleMania last year. He must have still been a part of NXT, so this is going to be his first WrestleMania. He's going to be going after the championship. Hopefully, after what happened to him at SummerSlam, not being able to get the win against Nakamura, this is when they're going to be giving him, I guess you can say, the brass ring, him winning the championship and him being the guy to sort of carry SmackDown Live and show off how good his talents really are. Not taking anything away from AJ Styles, been one of the greatest champions that they've had over there for the past 2 years. Easily, I can say that he's been, sort of knocking away any sort of doubts that people had about him in WWE before he came there. If you remember, when his contract came out in TNA, people were wondering if he was going to be there. But as of right now, I think they're rounding out having a really good card. I mean, as of right now, we also have rumored matches of basically people think that we're going to see Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn. People are thinking that we're going to see John Cena going up against The Undertaker. You have to have tag team titles matches. We have the Usos going up against the New Day on the SmackDown Fastlane pay-per-view. As of right now, I think it's looking like it's going to be the Bar against the Revival for the tag team titles on the Raw side. So, from a perspective of a wrestling fan who's gone to WrestleManias year in and year out, I sort of made the choice that I was not going to go to WrestleMania this year for the fact of how much money it costs and how much of a fan I have been the last year. Just thinking that it would not really be worth the money. I'm still not as hyped as I was for some reason before the Survivor Series pay-per-view. That's probably the most hyped I've been for wrestling in a long time, and I don't know if it was just about Raw versus SmackDown, and then once that sort of wore off, it just wasn't what it was. But the letdown of that Survivor Series main event of basically Triple H, Braun, and Shane McMahon at the very end of it, and then really the payoff of what they did between Braun and Triple H not really doing anything with it after that one night. I mean, never has Triple H even looked like he wanted to get any retribution for Braun Strowman beating him up at the end of the night. that makes it even more dumb than it was about having that whole pay-per-view basically coming down and being the Triple H show. And Triple H is my favorite wrestler of all time, right there with Hulk Hogan. So for me to knock him like that, it really shows you how upset I really was. WrestleMania looks like a really good show. I know that I'll be sitting live on the front row of my couch watching it on the WWE Network. I'm really looking forward to it, so I'm hoping that you guys are looking forward to me talking about these upcoming matches, and we'll start diving into them right now. First match that was named for WrestleMania 34 on Monday Night Raw is going to be the Intercontinental three-way. It's going to be The Miz defending against Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Finn Balor and Seth Rollins are two guys that have really sort of tied themselves together. Both guys are former champions and leaders of the Monday Night Raw locker room, as well as being two of the forefront future stars at WWE that are going to be the true main eventers that push this company to whatever heights that they believe that it's going to be at. The way the stars aligned this year, there are no main events for Finn Balor or Seth Rollins. In my opinion, I'm a bigger fan of Finn Balor than I am of Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was an awesome heel when he had that first championship run after WrestleMania 31. And he was one of those guys that I honestly at the time really hated. And it took until his injury when he left for me to really realize how much I might hate the character, and I might hate all of the disqualification finishes that came along with it, but I really missed the character, and I really liked his in-ring work, and I thought that he really was a good worker, even though they were giving him bad finishes along the way. Finn Balor is a guy that I fell in love with. I bought the hype on him coming to NXT, a lot like when Daniel Bryan debuted on the first season of NXT with Chris Jericho, where they had the match on the opening night. Everybody talking about how great of a worker he was, and I really was like, well, if everybody loves this guy so much, I want to see why they love him so I can love him as well, because people are saying how good this guy was when he worked in Japan, how good this guy was when he worked at Ring of Honor, and I went out and I did the work, and I found DVDs of his best ofs matches that he'd had, and I made sure I watched those to be able to be up on how big of a fan I was with him, and that's the same way I was with Finn Balor. When he was coming to NXT, I wanted to see what the buzz was. And, of course, he made that first entrance on his first NXT TakeOver coming out as the Demon. And, I mean, that was bigger and better than almost anything I ever thought that they were going to do with this guy. He became NXT champion, and it seemed like he honestly held the belt a little bit too long, to the point where people were ever wondering if he was ever going to make the main roster. When he was promoted to the main roster, they gave him the belt smack dab right off the bat. And, he had the injury, took it out of action. And I understand when some guys come back from injury, they wonder if this guy has the injury bug, and can they push this guy, because you have to wonder when the next injury is coming. I know that when they did the Raw 25 from the Hammerstein, and they had the whole Balor Club and DX meeting inside of the ring, and Triple H brought Finn Balor forefront and basically was saying, this is my guy. Maybe we have to wait to the point of when Triple H takes over, but I'm still that guy right now who's just basically saying, I want to see it now. So being able to see Balor and Rollins, have their matches on Monday Night Raw that led up to the Elimination Chamber, seeing them battle in the Elimination Chamber, even though that match wasn't really based on them. And that story was about how good Braun Strowman is and how, Roman Reigns is able to overcome the odds to setting up the main event of WrestleMania this year. And, both of those guys were able to be in the chamber, be believable, to the point where you had to have that question mark in your back of your mind. Like, there was people who knew that Roman was going to win it, but you can make a claim, even if it is only a 1% chance, that, WWE would change their mind and listen to the fans, and Rollins and Finn Balor had to be a pick of somebody that you're going to be there. I know that I've talked about these two guys for a long period of time, and I'm forgetting to talk about the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz. The Miz is the guy, man. He is good. I don't care If you talk crap about this guy's ring work, I don't care if you talk crap about, the way he runs his mouth. I believe that The Miz is right up there in the category with being one of the best guys. You can talk about the fact that Rolling Stone named him the best wrestler of 2017, and he loves to talk about that, and he'll rub that in your face all day long. But I really believe he has the stuff to back it up. And, he had his time, back in 2011 when he was champion, and, he got the main event WrestleMania, even though he was sort of like the asterisk of the match. Even though it was The Miz against John Cena, that match was basically trying to tell the story setting up WrestleMania 28 with Cena versus The Rock. And it wasn't time to have that match. You had to build it and make people wait that year to make WrestleMania 28 as big as it was. Since then, when it comes to WrestleMania, The Miz has wrestled on the pre-show. The Miz has wrestled in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He's wrestled on the pre-show. He's been a member of a tag team. Seeing The Miz be able to have it's a triple threat, but have a singles match where the spotlight is going to be on him coming down to the ring as champion, as a Miz fan, I believe is awesome. Awesome. And I think this is going to be really, really cool for all the parties that are involved here. So I'm really looking forward to this one. When it comes down to it, I think I have to be a homer. I have to pick my guy and tell you that I'm going to be rooting for Finn Balor. And as much as I state the case that this guy needs a push and he needs to be champion, you also have to wonder if this match is even going to happen as a three-way, with The Miz expecting his first baby with Maurice. I believe the due date is either a day or maybe 2 days after WrestleMania. Baby could come early, baby could have complications, this, that, or the other. So at least with them having a three-way, it sets up the piece that if Miz has to be absent, we could still have Balor versus Rollins, and you don't have to pull everybody off of WrestleMania. So maybe that is pretty smart of them to do that. But as a fan of all three guys, I think I'm crazy for saying this, and I think it might not happen, and my prediction might change. But as of right now, I think I'm actually rooting for The Miz to win this match and walk out with that championship belt to show how awesome this guy really is. All right, the next match is really special to WrestleMania. It is definitely going to be one of the main drawing attractions that brings wrestling fans from past and present together to be watching the WWE Network. There's definitely going to be a lot of talk from, I guess you can say, the so-called UFC fans who used to watch wrestling to see how Ronda Rousey is going to do in the ring and being a part of the spectacle that is WrestleMania. I think that Ronda Rousey coming to WWE is going to be the biggest thing that could bring in those fringe wrestling fans to come back, even if it is for only one night, to see what they're missing. Ronda Rousey at this time right now is probably not going to be the best wrestler. She definitely is not the best talker when it comes to setting up promos, to setting up her matches. But I think that her drawing power from being able to beat people in UFC and have matches that lasted, less than a minute, and being able to knock somebody out in one punch, is what's going to bring it to the table. Definitely the armbar is something that we've been looking forward to seeing in a WWE ring since WrestleMania 31, when she jumped the barricade with The Rock, and was able to hip toss on Triple H and throw Stephanie as well. This is a match that came together over the last period of a year. Definitely for the last while, we've been wondering how Kurt Angle was going to come back to WWE. It looked like when Angle signed his deal to come back to WWE to be put into the WWE Hall of Fame, it was just going to be as sort of a I guess you can say an out-of-the-ring performer, with him being the GM of Monday Night Raw, and having sort of like that feel-good guy that is able to deliver a promo, have good, be able to be believable in the role, that, you know, even though he's not still the guy that he once was, if stuff did get frisky in the ring, he would be able to handle himself. And I think that's what Triple H is. I apologize, that is what Kurt Angle is in the role of GM, especially being able to be somebody who's going to stand up to Triple H and Stephanie, and not just get walked over in a role like, you know, Teddy Long did when he was in commissioner of SmackDown back in the day. You know, Kurt Angle came back at TLC. He wrestled in that match replacing Roman Reigns, and it sort of was like a little bit of a Band-Aid sticker just to be there. He was a part of the Monday Night Raw team at Survivor Series, being the captain of a team. He had to go out there and make sure that Team Raw was able to get the win. And even though him and Triple H didn't see eye to eye, it took until now for them to really pay off on that storyline of Survivor Series. In the opening match, or in the opening video of my full show preview, I talked about the fact that Survivor Series to me was probably the most I've been hyped for a wrestling show in quite a while. And to me, it sort of was a little bit of a letdown, and it led to my decision of basically not to go to WrestleMania this year. It seemed like it got really hyped up, and at the end, it was sort of a letdown with the Triple H show. Triple H is always going to be one of my favorite guys. I always look forward to his matches at WrestleMania. I can honestly tell you the match against Rollins last year wasn't the best match that I've ever seen, but, you know, like the match against Daniel Bryan, the match against at Sting, even though it wasn't the best wrestling match of all time, was really, really entertaining. And it's one of those matches that I know is going to be on every WrestleMania card. Even if it looks like he's not going to be getting the win, it's something that I really, really look forward to. It's easy to see, you know, when talking about this match, you know, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey are going to get the win. This is going to be the kickoff of Ronda Rousey actually being a competitor in WWE. You know, WWE is really talking about the fact that Ronda Rousey is going to be a part of the main roster. She's going to be a little bit different. For the most part, she wants to be treated like she is, you know, Charlotte or Bayley or Sasha Banks. You know, she's not going to be a part of every pay-per-view. And that's a little bit of trying to not make the spectacle that is Ronda Rousey, you know, dry up. You know, Brock Lesnar is the guy that, you know, comes in for special pay-per-views. You know, he's going to be part of WrestleMania. You know, he's going to be a part of Survivor Series, SummerSlam. But, you know, he's not on every Monday Night Raw to build up to that. So I'm not sure when Ronda's, you know, storyline is going to end, and she's going to take a leave of absence, and she won't be you know, traveling to Monday Night Raw and doing TVs and things like that. But it is cool to see that Ronda is committed to WWE to the point where she's not going to take television off. And she is going to be a part of WWE to make sure that, you know, they're able to draw numbers, especially in this very important time when WWE is maybe trying to lure in getting a new television deal with Fox. That, you know, they still have to support numbers to see if maybe they're not able to go to Fox, if they can stay with USA, and how much USA is going to pay. And Ronda, as of right now, is probably the biggest star that they have, being bigger than John Cena, and definitely, I think, being more of a draw than Brock Lesnar is. Brock, you know, did a house show last week where he wrestled in Chicago. The match was against Kane. It lasted less than a minute, and the fans were very easy to understand that they were upset that they didn't get their money's worth. That they felt Brock should have been out there longer, even though it was a match against Kane and everybody knew that he was going to win. You know, maybe he should have, you know, suplexed him around a little bit more than he did. Maybe, you know, sell a little bit, act like Kane was going to be beaten on him. But less than a minute doesn't really make much sense. And, you know, that's always been my argument against why I think WWE is a better value when you're looking at pay-per-view dollars. Going against UFC, because although it is really cool to see, you know, Ronda Rousey slap the armbar on somebody and make him tap out in, you know, 15, 16 seconds, but then when you have to step back to the table when that bill comes from the cable company, and you're like, man, I just paid $60 for 14 seconds of action, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I know that they're going to drop a really good match where Ronda Rousey is able to get the best of Stephanie. And I'm sure that, Triple H will be putting a beating on Kurt Angle, making it look like they're going to be able to pull out the win. But definitely Stephanie's going to be doing some tapping, and we'll have the start of Ronda Rousey's career. WWE starting off with a big W. The big one, as of right now, the main event of WrestleMania 34 is Brock Lesnar defending the Universal Championship, going up against none other than Roman Reigns. This, of course, is a rematch of WrestleMania 31. It seems like WWE is not going to be playing off on the rematch factor all that much. Maybe they don't want to act like they're repeating something that already happened in history. As of right now, there is no money in the bank to sort of bring anybody into the match, so much like Seth Rollins did to interfere in the WrestleMania 31 main event, where Rollins would end up pinning Roman Reigns to become the Universal Champion, and then going off on a run where Rollins held the belt all the way until WrestleMania 32, and the only thing that stopped him was a knee injury that took him out of action. Last time, they were doing some sort of a weird angle. I'm not sure if WWE was trying to play off on the factor of maybe turning Roman Reigns heel. At the time, there was a lot of rumors of Brock Lesnar leaving WWE, where he was actually going to be signing with UFC and going back in, getting into the Octagon. But, they did the whole sit-down interview because Monday Night Raw had to be canceled due to a snowstorm, where they had Paul Heyman talking to Roman Reigns, talking about the fact that he'd worked with members of his family in the wrestling industry back in the day, and that he actually did respect Roman Reigns. And that was the whole thing that people were hanging on to, that maybe they would do the thing sort of like Survivor Series 2002, where it was actually going to be Paul that would turn on Brock and actually join up with Roman, much like what happened to Brock with Big Show at the time, when Big Show was the first guy to beat Brock Lesnar in WWE. They ended up not going with that, but it was in the back of a lot of people's minds until Brock ended up re-signing the week of WrestleMania, when they did the announcement on ESPN. And to a lot of people, that sort of saved WrestleMania, because if you can remember, that year after Roman won the Royal Rumble is basically when fans were doing the whole hashtag quit the network, and people were writing emails and tweeting things about how they were going to cancel the network and they were never going to watch WWE again. And here we are 4 years later. They're doing the same match, and WWE numbers on the WWE network are up. I think that honestly, when you look at ratings, when it comes to numbers, they might be down, but it's not like WWE is really hurting for money or hurting for fans. I wish I could say that WWE, I wish they would learn from their mistake, but WrestleMania 31, even though it's not one of the best WrestleManias of all time, it definitely was a really fun WrestleMania. And it's not like people really, thought that Roman versus Brock was the worst match of all time. Definitely Brock, kicked Roman's ass in that match. Roman was barely able to get any offense in before Seth Rollins came into the match. He was just being thrown from corner to corner. He's basically getting taken to Suplex City, to the point where Roman was laughing at himself for not being able to actually be able to hurt Brock at all. I'm not sure if that's exactly the same storyline that they're going to go for. Since then, at WrestleMania 32, Roman Reigns was able to defeat Triple H to become the WWE Champion in the main event. And then at WrestleMania 33, Roman Reigns was able to beat Undertaker in what was supposed to be looked at as a retirement match, where, Roman was able to dominate and overtake the Undertaker, and show that Undertaker just didn't have it anymore. To me, I really think that Undertaker and Brock is sort of It's like, to me, it's almost like that dagger in the heart. Like WWE saying, like, gosh, why don't you get it? Roman is the man. He needs to be the Hulk Hogan or the John Cena of this era. We need you fans to get on board. To me, I think what WWE needs to do is just get over that hump. If you want to push Roman every pay-per-view where he's going to go in there and he's going to overcome the odds and he's going to beat people, just do it. Because to me, honestly, even though you might have people boo him on pay-per-view and you might have people boo him on TV, I think you're still going to have the same people show up to house shows. You're going to have the same people show up and buy Monday Night Raw tickets. You're going to have the same people buy WrestleMania tickets each and every year because it's WWE. And people know that even though they don't like Roman Reigns and he is the WWE champion, there are people, whether if it's the tag team guys or, you know, the 205 Live guys or even the women on the roster, that they can support and they're going to want to show up and see them each and every time. I think we've all learned by now that even though it is the Universal Championship and it might be in the main event, you know, you can make your own main event and basically say, like, this is the match that I want to see, and this is the match that I care about, and everything else than that, if that's a good match, that's gravy on top of it, and I already know that I'm getting my money's worth. To me, when I see Roman Reigns, I don't really get ecstatic. I don't, you know, take my shirt off and start like, yeah, it's the man right there. But I think when I definitely watch his pay-per-view matches, I can't think of many that don't deliver. I mean, if a Roman Reigns best of DVD came out, and I went and I picked it up, and I think I put that, you know, in the DVD player, and I started watching it, I don't think I'd be able to pick out many matches that I just didn't like. I think that it just seems like there's a lot of moments in his career that I just don't really appreciate because it seems like he's getting them each and every week. But, you know, we've grown up with this with Hulk Hogan. We've gone through this with John Cena. We understand that there is supposed to be one guy on the top of the mountain, even though it might not be the guy that we think should be there. We're still going to support everybody else. So this is going to be a good Mania. I hope everybody that's going is going to be having one hell of a trip. And hope you guys know that I'll be watching your videos. If you guys be posting them up there and, you know, trying to follow you guys on Twitter and Instagram, seeing who you guys are meeting at Access and WrestleCon and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's going to be more videos to come. I just wanted to knock out the first full show preview. And I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll see you guys down the road.